In this video, I will explain the logical fallacy called the appeal to futility. I'll begin with the general form, explain why it is a mistake, and use some examples of people making this sort of mistake. Hopefully, by the end of the video, you will be able to spot and deal with this fallacy. And if not, well, we will all die someday. Liking this video and subscribing to the channel is not going to change that. So, before you die, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button. An appeal to futility is a type of red herring fallacy. That is, it introduces an irrelevant clause. This logical fallacy occurs when you are encouraged to do something because doing it would be seen as pointless in the bigger picture. The general form is A is going to happen. A is some bad event in the future. B won't change A. Doing some action B today will not stop A from happening. A is much worse than B. Therefore, there is nothing wrong in doing B. We are fine to do B because ultimately A is going to happen. The conclusion here is fallacious. The judgment on whether action B is good or bad should be based on action B. In this case, it is stated and accepted that action B has no effect on event A. And so whatever event A is, no matter how bad it is, we cannot use it to justify doing B. It is irrelevant. One counter-argument to this fallacy is to say that instead of doing B, we should focus on the bad event A. So we should do action C, which will stop event A from happening, or at least make it less painful. If doing action B impacts on our ability to do C, then this is a good reason to not do B. Let's look at some examples of people making this sort of mistake. The first example concerns death. Consider the following argument. There is nothing wrong in me killing you. We all die eventually. Yes, we do all die eventually, and this can be seen as a bad event. Regardless of whether or not this person kills you, you will still die at some point. So is this person really justified in killing you? Well, no, they are not. Them killing you is much worse as it deprives you of all the many years of life that you would otherwise have had. Sure, you would still die eventually, we all do, but without them killing you, you would have a longer life. Note that this argument implies that it is a human being killed, but we could extend it to include any sentient being. The second example concerns so-called dark times, a period when society is depressed and people feel more anxious and miserable than normal. There is general perception that more bad events are happening than normal. Consider the following argument. I wouldn't normally do it, but in these dark times, I can steal from that shop. Here, the so-called dark times are an overarching bad event, and this is being used to justify the action of stealing. The logic being that whether or not this person steals from the shop, they will still be in dark times. So does this justify their stealing? No, the act of stealing should be considered on its own merits and not the perception of dark times. To highlight the irrelevance of this perception of dark times, this particular argument can be turned on itself. If the person really believes that stealing or not stealing will have no effect on this perception of dark times, then we can say, in these dark times, you should not steal from that shop. The argument is the same. All we have done is change the conclusion. Of course, one could argue that there is a link between stealing and the perception of dark times. More stealing increases this perception and less stealing decreases it. So you could say that by acting more ethically, we might emerge from this perception of dark times. In this way, we actually have a logical argument in favor of not stealing during this period of darkness. The final example concerns the Titanic. This was a huge passenger ship that famously hit an iceberg and sank on its maiden voyage in 1912. For many years now, we have the idiom rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, which describes a futile action in the face of some impending catastrophe. In the case of the Titanic, making the deck chairs look neat some 2 hours before the whole ship sinks seems pointless. But is it really a bad idea? On the one hand, you might say that your time and effort would be better spent trying to save your life and the lives of others on board. In other words, doing something to address the impending catastrophe. But on the other hand, if you genuinely felt that you had only 2 hours left to live and there was nothing you could do to change that, perhaps you would want to spend that time doing something you enjoy. Of course, this is a metaphor used to judge some other catastrophe and action, so you should consider whether the metaphor is accurate. When you see someone use this argument, consider whether anything can be done to prevent or lessen the bad event. If some action can be taken, then this action may be a better choice. How much time is there before the bad event? This too can have an impact on the choice of action. Is the bad event relevant? This is important. If there is no link between the action and the bad event, then we cannot use the bad event to justify the action. As always, politely point out the fallacy, develop better arguments, and have more productive discussions. I hope you now have a better understanding of this fallacy.